Guys, everyone's way across town and traffic going the other half was not good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna have officially open the meeting then? Are we on, Linda?
We're on.
Okay. Thanks everybody for coming, special meeting to discuss the possibility of a lease program for our fleet vehicles. So, I'll just turn it over to Juan right away.
All right, well, thank you everyone for having me here. What you have in front of you, real quick, we're gonna roll right to the cash flow, analysis. And I think this describes a lot of how the numbers work out to be. But first and foremost, what I did want to talk about is enterprise fleet management is not about just leasing a vehicle. To get to the bottom line of fleet management, it is data driven, but it's essentially having the software, the resources, the people, and the execution to be able to help manage a fleet for city and counties and government entities that we work with. The good news is you're not a guinea pig. We work with over 25 different counties already and a handful of cities. We've gone more of the county route because we are the only vetted fleet services provider allowed into the Minnesota Counties Association. The entire board has seen our presentation. Our numbers have been vetted. So it's exciting to look at every differences in terms of looking at the fleet and how we can help. So my job as a consultant is to go in and look at your fleet and look at specifically what I would do differently or change it up a little bit to help you at the end of the day save a lot of money, but also have a lot of safety in the fleet, okay? We can go through a lot of data information, but this one right here kind of encapsulates the cash flow argument and the numbers, okay? So first off, in the blue right here, all this showing you is the difference between leasing and buying with the way you currently run it today and what it would look like to lease with us as well. As you can see in the blue section right there, majority of it except for two of the green flashes is what we're looking at. Everyone follow me there? Outside looking in, these are the vehicles that I would recommend should go. So year one in 2020, essentially order 11 vehicles. Now, that's me outside looking in. If we end up partnering together, we actually get into the nitty-gritty because you know your vehicles better than I do. You'd say, well, I'd actually pick this one, this one, this one, and then work with you to spec out the vehicle to the exact options and specifications you would want on that vehicle, okay? So this is a proof of concept, general idea on what we're looking at. So these 11 vehicles, if you start with column A, I just randomly put 1 through 11. The model year is under column B, 1997 all the way down to 2005 for the last vehicle, city vehicle. There's the odometer on the vehicle. There's the annual mileage approximately, well, how many miles a year the vehicle's traveling, the VIN number, and then the current model. Right there, as you can see, it's a Ford pickup, Chevy Tahoe, Dodge Ram. What we would replace it with, now once again, that I need your decision. You make all final decisions on what type of vehicles. My job is to give you the analytics behind different types of vehicles that may be more cost effective, and you would actually end up choosing the exact vehicle. The reason why the two green ones are highlighted is because these are the two that I actually found that you already anticipate getting rid of. You already have the trade-in values, you have already these two trucks sitting at the dealership waiting for delivery, okay? Our goal is to intercept them and take them over and flip them to a lease program. With that being said, column I, if everyone can see that, it says budget needed with estimated maintenance, okay? If the posing question is always like, we like a lot of the ideas the enterprise says where, yes, we should cycle the vehicle sooner, yes, it's not good to keep a vehicle for 17.5 years. All these things we all kind of agree on in theory. However, some cities and counties saying, yes, we all agree to that, let's just do it ourselves. That's the bottom line, right? Is why don't we just take Enterprise's advice and do it ourselves? You can. Problem is you need more money. You got to increase your capital budget. Therein lies the problem, is there's not enough money to replace it when it's the best time to replace it, crazy enough, because it takes a lot of cash up front to buy a vehicle. So, as we look at column I, if you followed this and estimated what the budget you would need, and then adding the maintenance cost of a brand new vehicle, which is a lot lower than running a vehicle long term, if you add up these 11 vehicles, plus the expected maintenance expense on those vehicles, you'd need $325,000 in year one to execute the same program we're trying to tell you to do. That usually breaks the bank. That's why you don't do it in the first place. That's why every county and city in the state of Minnesota, prior to working with Enterprise, don't go on our cycle because of the capital budget. We get it. Even though in the long run it's more cost effective because the upfront cost is too high. Here's what you currently run estimated. So column J, current budget with estimated maintenance. This is what you're currently running today on an average given year. You buy about 1.5 vehicles a year, roughly, right? Some years 1, some years 2. That's what you currently do today. Then your maintenance expenses on top of that, and it's awfully high. Matter of fact, it's about 4 to 5 times higher than the average because of the length of time you're keeping the vehicle. We all kind of get that from a rule of thumb. The longer you keep the vehicle, the higher it costs you in maintenance and fuel costs. So you spend about $128,000, $275,000 on an average given year. What it would cost to lease these 11 vehicles in year one is $55,000 through Enterprise. We're going to execute and get you 11 brand new vehicles. That's going to cost you $55,320, and that includes maintenance. So all the maintenance is paid for and already taken care of in that number of $55,000 versus $325,000 if you wanted to do it yourself, versus $128,000 which you currently do just buying 1.5 vehicles. You can get 11 through me and save a ton of money in year one. Okay? Column L shows you if we order these, we'll start the budget in 2020. We're not talking about spending this year's money necessarily. We'll start when you want to start. This is just a frame of reference 2020. Okay? The term on these is 60 months, just an arbitrary number that I put out there in terms of a term. As you can see on column Q, do you see the monthly payment there on the right? $400, $500, $450, $500. That's ballpark. It will depend on exactly what options and what specs you need on them. It will depend if you want to go to a regular cab or extended cab or crew cab, right? So it's a good general idea of the payment, what it would be. Keep in mind, that includes all maintenance for those vehicles as well, where everything is covered bumper to bumper. Okay? The total of those payments then is $55,320. Make sense? That's year one, so 2020. So next year we would recommend adding 12 through 20, which is what, about 9 more vehicles? Okay? So that's the one you see in a salmon color there. And we would lease all those vehicles. And I apologize, it should all say city, not sheriff. I was doing this in speed mode to get it done today for you. Imagine it says city. Those are the correct mileage, correct VIN numbers for the most part, and it's the correct description of the vehicle. Column H in the salmon, we would replace those vehicles once again with the type of vehicle you currently have. Look at the budget you need for year 2. If you were to do it yourself, adding maintenance on there as well, you'll need $265,000. Once again, that's why it doesn't make sense for you to try to emulate what Enterprise is doing, because you have to pay cash up front for these vehicles. You average $128,000 in column J. The lease on year 2, you would owe me $101,000. If you go to column T, do you see where it says 2020 on the right of that? It says $55,320. That's the payments from year 1, plus you have payments in year 2, right? Because everyone knows you're leasing. You're not paying cash anymore. In essence, put it this way. When you buy one vehicle, I can lease you 4 to 5 vehicles for the same price. That's the secret sauce of why you lease. I can fit more vehicles into one vehicle and not change your budget. Okay? So, column P, you have payments of year one, and then add up the 9 extra payments year two, which is $45,900, including all the maintenance once again. In year 2022, 2023, and 2024, you only need one more vehicle, two more vehicle, one more vehicle, then we're all the way kind of like cycled through your entire fleet, okay? So then the bottom line under column I, we're going to skip where the box says 5-year cash outlay. If you were to do the same and emulate our advice on cycling these vehicles out, you'll need $748,000 over the next 5 years to do this with your fleet, to cycle them all out. You'll get $178,500 back on trade-in value, roughly. Keep in mind, that is high in terms of what you could sell a vehicle for, because majority of my government accounts take it to the government auction or they trade them in. And we all know the goal of a dealership is to give you as little as possible for it, because they have to resell it and make thousands of dollars to make money. That's how they make their business. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just their business model, right? So you'll need $569,000 net. If you follow your current trend and you just replace 1.5 vehicles over the next 5 years, you will have spent $603,000 to continue to have an old fleet. So you will spend more money if you stay on the track you're on, versus biting the bullet and coming up with $750,000 and cycling it the right way. However, this is where Enterprise comes in and makes us more cost effective. I'm going to be lower on both options. The total of my lease payments is $474,600. Your average that I'm going to take is 5 vehicles a year. So after we get through everything that's leased, right? The average to replace cycle on 25 vehicles is 5 vehicles a year. Does that make sense? So we're going to eventually get to a 5-year cycle where everything is rotated out 5 vehicles per year. And when I sell those 5 vehicles per year, your equity on those 5 vehicles should be around $60,000, give or take. But that gives you an idea. So your total budget for the next 5 years to have a brand new fleet is right in the green there at $414,600. A savings versus paying cash of $154,900. The interesting part about this is I haven't even included the fuel savings yet. Okay? Honestly, because I didn't have time. I gave you the 10-year model that was all nice, pretty pictures and pie charts, you know, but that's a proof of concept, right? This is drilled down and kind of uncovering what was in the pie chart and getting a little bit more drilled down into specifics, that's why, okay? So if I add fuel savings onto these 25 vehicles, once the fleet is implemented and leased through, and we're getting rid of old pickup trucks that's 15 years old getting 9 miles to the gallon, with a brand new truck getting 17 miles to the gallon, you're talking about over $20,000 in fuel savings a year just on gas alone.
They're not gonna get 17 in town.
Probably not, but better than
They
9.
won't. Most of them say 7 and 8, even the newer ones. Driving in town.
We won't know unless we track it, I guess. I'll take that.
Well, it's more of a moot point, because you're driving 2 miles across town every which direction. I mean, fuel savings is between letting them run in the winter, there's no savings there.
Well, I beg to differ on that.
I know.
Well,
You'll save.
I'll give you an example. We all would agree a 5-year-old Impala gets 25 miles to the gallon at its peak. Highway. Let's say city at 17. Would you agree with that? On a lowball number, 17 for an Impala, 25 on the highway, 17 in the city? Okay? If I replace the Impala with a Malibu, same size as the older Impala, it's 30 miles highway and 26 city. Let's say we're totally off, and I'm 5 miles to the gallon off on that, right? I'm getting 20. My overall fuel economy savings, just switching the vehicle to a newer vehicle, will save you money, period, because of technology on the type of vehicle it is. So whether you believe the new trucks will give you 9 versus a newer one or not, the data shows it has improved enough from the older vehicles that are over 5 years old.
That's on older vehicles that are 5 years old that are getting 15,000 miles a year put on them.
Yes.
These are barely, there ain't a one on here, I don't think, that has, or there's one there, 21,
But you look at those vehicles with that many miles a year, those are ones that have been impounded and came into our things. There's none of them that have had that kind of miles put on them here.
Right. And that's good.
A Tahoe and a Dodge Ram.
The lower miles
They were
you
never
drive,
bought new.
the more it's worth resale.
Well, I know the newer vehicles save gas, because right at A&A, since we started adding new vehicles, our fuel costs have gone down. I know they have. And our trucks sit and idle, they sit and run across town in Rochester, Owatonna, whatever, they never get out on the highway much, and our fuel cost has still gone down. Not probably as much as you're stating, but we still have seen the savings.
There is a little savings. I'll
The-
agree with a little.
The other important part is, forget there is savings across the board on any of this. Let's wipe it out. Say it's cost neutral, I don't save you a dime. But all your vehicles are on a 5-year cycle, you'll have the safest fleet among the other, except for the ones I've already partnered with. You'll have the safest vehicles for the city. You'll have the latest, safety features with the 4th generation analog brakes, airbags, electronic stability control, all of the stuff that are standard now on a majority of all vehicles for increased safety.
Not only that, you got the warranty.
Yeah.
So all the money we're spending on fixing vehicles,
How much is that?
a lot more than we need to be.
Well, I
We
mean,
got-
you're throwing it out there, how much is that? I mean, do we know?
Public Works at averaging $350 per vehicle, and PD was over $572 per month per vehicle.
Do you have that we can see that?
I was told that on an email.
When's the last time you did a motor or a transmission though? That's what I mean.
But it's not really the motor and transmission that gets you. With these older vehicles, just like we found out at A&A, it's the little things, the nickel and diming over and over and over and over. That's what gets you. We eliminated that by switching over to newer vehicles. We can see the cost savings. It's a no-brainer. It really is.
Every time the vehicle's sitting in the shop, you're down a vehicle. Or you got
It's
the guys
not
trying to do it
working.
themselves.
It's not working. That, you're losing.
Any other questions I can help answer or anything else?
When you say all the maintenance is included, so does that mean Enterprise does the maintenance?
No. You take it to your shops, the local shops around town, and it's already paid for through Enterprise. They bill us. You get a fixed monthly rate already included into the lease payment. Average is like $30 per month per vehicle versus $300 or $350 or $570, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. My rate's around $30 average. So,
And that's bumper to bumper anything?
correct.
Oil changes.
Oil changes, tune-ups, wiper blades, fluids,
General
light
maintenance.
bulbs. All the general maintenance is taken care of, including all repairs. And you're right, it's not the transmission or engine that goes out. The vehicles are made great today. It's the water pump, fuel pump, alternator, axle.
The batteries.
And that's all covered under the maintenance,
Correct.
brakes, rotors?
Two things that are not included for government is brakes and tires, because if you replace tires every year, you bankrupt me at $30 a month. You'll get the state bid, which you currently do on tires, replace them when needed. However, if you follow the plan, and most vehicles under a 3 to 5 year cycle, and you're driving an average of 8,000 miles a year, you don't need a set of tires at 40,000 miles for the most part. Some vehicles that might, you just get it from how you normally currently do now in a state bid. Otherwise, I don't wanna boost that up to $45 and include brakes and tires, which you may or may not use. Just pay for that as you go into the state bid contract for tires.
You look at most of these pickups that are bought, your annual mileage, 2,600, 4,100, 3,800, 4,700 miles a year, 38, 25. That's one oil change a year. How much are you spending on the oil maintenance?
Yeah, but on your oil changes, whether you got mileage or not, you still have to change them every 3 to 6 months because of the oil breakdown. You gotta still change it, so you're still changing oil, whether you got the miles or not.
The idle time.
Okay, then 6 months. That's
Yeah, the idle time. Like I said in the beginning, the difference is, you know, we didn't partner up with 25 other counties because we cost more. We run the entire city of Chicago, and that's 2,300, over 2,300 vehicles. We do Orange County, Westminster, the big counties around the country, tons of sheriff's office in Minnesota, up and down, you know, from Cook County all the way down to Fillmore County. We're here to make sure that the vehicles are safe and reliable, and you're spending less money, and Enterprise makes money in the process as well. There's no doubt about it. We're not a non-for-profit, but yet our margins are low, and we expect to be partnered with you for hopefully a lifetime to make sure that that happens. We don't have a contract. What you're signing today that you see in your package is a lease agreement on how we operate our leases. You could fire me tomorrow. So it's risk-free.
You'd be buying a lot of vehicles at once if you did, though.
Yeah, well, you were talking about the equity when these get turned back in and replaced with a new one. You're saying you're gonna sell these out on the open market, and then that comes back to the next vehicle?
Yes, it's your money, or a check. Majority like to roll it in the next one, because as you can see, on one of these, you know, if you look at 2013, if we cycled at the right time, you got an F-350 one-ton pickup truck there, and I'm saying cycle that in 3 years, it's worth 24 grand. A new one's buying is worth around 32, right? The payment might be, it'll be under $100 a month. And you got a brand new truck. Winona County traded a pickup truck onto a new one. Their payment is like $114 a month. Isanti County Sheriff's Office, on the investigative units, they buy SUVs from me, and they want an open-end lease, means that you can exit at any point in time. If they get spotted, they want me to pull it and get them a new one. We go through dealer stock because they need one right away. We're not going to wait to factory order them, right? But then they get spotted, they need to switch out. And because the government buy is so good, they're in an equity position. We take the old one, sell it, take the equity, roll it on to a new one, and put it out in their fleet. And it works great for them when a vehicle gets spotted. But it keeps the vehicle incredibly safe, reliable, and you know, it's managed through us, and they've been with us for about going on 7 years here.
What are the, when you turn one in, what are the things that we would expect that you would look at as repercussions that we would have to pay for?
I don't care, it's your vehicle.
So no damage to it, it doesn't bother it, or?
You can have damage, but then you won't get as much back in equity.
Okay, well, I just wanna,
Yeah.
you know, if that's the way it works, so.
So basically, our penalty, if it's got dings in it, the penalty is you just don't get as much for when you sell it.
Correct, as if you owned it.
Resale.
So let's say you owned it outright. You want to trade it in with a ding on it, you're gonna get less on a trade-in. Our leases, the word lease is misleading. The only reason why ours is called a lease is because a third party bought it. It's not the lease you see on TV, $3.99, come on down. Those are net leases closed end, meaning that you can't exit it without a penalty. You have wear and tear, you have excess mileage, up to 25 cents on some of them a mile, and then at the end, you give them the keys and you get nothing. You rented a car. This is an open-end lease, means that all I'm doing is the finance to own. I'm going to put it under a 5-year term, and at any point in that 5 years where there's an advantage to get rid of the vehicles because the resale market or the maintenance costs are too high, I come up to you and show you the numbers, what it would cost to replace that vehicle instead. You make all final decisions, but I got to show you the math behind it, and if it makes fiscal sense, then you do it. If there's a time where you wanna hang on to the vehicle longer than 5 years, it's your vehicle. We can keep it for another year, by then you own it anyway, you paid it off. I can transfer title and the city can run it for another 10 years if you want. The issue is, 5 years from now, when I show you that your lease payment's gonna be $100, versus that's lower than what your maintenance expense is, to keep the old one, or at least you're heading into that, it's gonna be hard pressed for you to say no, hopefully, in my opinion. But you have every right to hang on to the vehicle.
So the way I understand it is, the most cost is to get into it, get the system going. Because once you get going and you start turning around the vehicles, and you'd wanna turn around the vehicles in 5 years to keep up with the safety that comes out with a newer vehicle, the fuel mileage that comes out with a newer vehicle. But as long as you keep it maintained and clean, ding-free, you're gonna get more for it at the end of those 5 years. So the next car that comes in, you're gonna actually be paying less for it.
That's correct.
So the cost will go down as we continue with this program, but we will keep our fleet up to date and cheaper.
I'm gonna be always very transparent with you. The first 5 years, you're gonna save a ton of money with me. As we're not doing all of 25 at once. We might not even do 11 that I recommend, and you start with 5, whatever that number is. The only reason why I'm recommending 11 is that's the oldest vehicles you got, that's costing you the most amount of money in maintenance and fuel economy, in theory. Unless I tracked it, I really don't know it exactly, right? You could have 2 vehicles side by side, one's in '05 and one's in '08, and the '08 is actually costing you more money. Unless I track it, I don't know. I'm estimating, and let's see how it goes, but at some point ongoing here on the spreadsheet, I'm gonna be on average about $15,000 a year lower than what you're currently doing today in year 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or in perpetuity. So eventually it will balance itself out more, where I'm only saving you about 15 grand a year to keep 25 vehicles going. So, to answer your question, it actually costs less to start the program, because you're not leasing 25 vehicles to begin with, you're slowly building into it.
Right.
So once I have 25 vehicles under lease, that's when continually, yes. Budget-wise, it looks great, because I'm using that equity
Right.
to roll that.
Yep.
Yep.
So, Charlie, can I ask you a question? So the maintenance that we do now on a monthly basis, we do that ourselves, all that stuff, so under this new program, if we went that way, we could take and do a local shop, somebody else could do the work, and that theoretically would save your guys some time, a little bit.
Yeah, we do all ours, cop cars, and fire department.
But under this maintenance program,
You can't do it internally.
Right.
we'd have a shop do it, you'd have that.
Is there someone local that you would recognize?
Whatever you use around here locally, I guess. I don't know the answer to that. Anyone that's ASC certified, and you have to be ASC certified to have a shop in the state of Minnesota. So we want it brought to a real garage and not Sam's backyard, you know? However, the maintenance is optional. If you wanna continue to do it, knock yourself out. It should still average about the same. The only thing that's great about mine is it's guaranteed and it's inflation-proof and it's budgetable. You know what I mean?
Well, every time that we're doing it ourselves, we're tying up man-hours that could be doing something else, but.
Like Winona County has their own shop, they have 2 mechanics, used to work on all the vehicles as well. They're gonna hire a 3rd one, but they have 2 now. And for them, it worked better to go with our program, because the shop was 2 blocks down the street. They'd pick them up and drop them off actually in the morning to do oil changes. And that's something they set up on the side, you know? So it works great for them, because they wanted all their mechanics working on the other stuff. Tandems, skid loaders, snow plows, all the other stuff that saved them a lot more, to them was more important than oil changes, you know? So for them, it was a gift, they loved the idea. But it's not mandatory.
I have one of these leased vehicles through the task force. They were doing through Enterprise, and mine just goes to Casson Car Care.
Okay, that's what I, you know, I hope we could keep it local,
Thank
you
you.
know.
Great.
Yeah.
You don't want to run to Rochester to do it, I mean, that would defeat the purpose, you got a guy on the road instead of doing it, but the other thing with the maintenance, isn't a lot of that kinda nice to have on a rainy week or a cold winter? Do some maintenance, something,
Yeah, that's
get,
mostly.
you know, sometimes, I mean, works both ways. Yeah, sure, it takes manpower, but sometimes you need something for manpower to do too, but I know it works both ways.
Yeah, it's up to you. I mean, Winona liked it because they didn't have to stockpile all the parts.
Right.
You know, I mean, they spent a small fortune on parts. And they would have to try to asset manage all the parts, every screw and everything else, whatever parts they use for light duty maintenance. And since they did a lot of the work themselves, they had to inventory a lot of parts. And that started getting costly as parts goes up as well. Like I said, our program is fixed. It's around $30 average, that's what it stays.
And it's optional.
And it's optional.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there is a fuel program. that
Yeah,
would be
yep. We have a free
optional as
fuel
well.
program with the universal fuel card called Right Express. That was important for a lot of the cities and counties to get for transparency, for abuse, to be honest. There's no way, easy way around it, I guess. A lot of them had company credit cards and they didn't know if they filled up their neighbor's car. They didn't know. You don't know. So if everyone has a universal fuel card and everyone has the 4-digit ID PIN number, when you fuel up, you put in your 4-digit ID number, and you put in your odometer, and we track who, when, where, what they put in at all times, and anything that's a red flag, we report to you.
So that also is capable of buying fuel anywhere with that?
Virtually. Doesn't work at Sam's Club or Costco because you gotta be members, you know. But all the Carisses or Casey's or SA's or Holiday, you know, all those.
How about just like a card,
Yeah, it works at FedEx.
CHS?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cause you buy some of your fuel off
Some
there.
that
Yeah.
are, they're quick to.
Yeah, Quick Trip, it works with all
I
the
think they
Quick
kinda
Trips.
try to divide it up a little bit.
Casey. Yeah, ours just manages it all where everyone has a PIN number, they all use it, so then we can track it. And since people know they're being watched and audited, every time I put on the program, they save about 15% of last year's fuel bill. It's amazing. Because you can't fill up your snow blower or your snowmobile anymore, because you'll know.
Odometer, vehicle number and odometer.
We have it.
Yeah, great,
It works.
yeah.
And then when we go to trade in a vehicle, we'll know what kind of gas mileage it was getting. That will all be in your program, correct?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, the technology and the stuff, the presentation that you got in the packet, I mean, obviously, there's tons of information on it, but fleet management, you'll be assigned an account manager, that has to report back to the city, meet with you during budget season, fleet planning season, talk to department heads on what type of vehicle, what kind of specs you want, and then our annual client review to review every penny that you spent with us to make sure that we're on track for what I'm telling you. We are accountable. We wanna put ourselves accountable, because honestly, if you're not saving money, you're gonna fire me. So, we're gonna track as much as you'll allow us to get down to the nitty-gritty of a cents per mile in each and every vehicle. That way we can tell you financially what we're seeing. We'll also give you industry updates on what other government entities are doing, what types of vehicles are they doing. For the patrol vehicles, what are you gonna do with the interceptors? They're going up $3,000 to $5,000 a piece. You won't get one delivered until January 2020. You gotta go without a vehicle for 15 months. So, we've gotta come up with different options and scenarios, right? So these are things that we bring to the table that we can help. We're looking at all the other patrols and SSV vehicles, timelines and cost and everything else like that, and giving you the best recommendations. You make the final decision. All this will be on the dashboard software as well. I'm working with St. Paul right now and Ramsey County, and they're ready to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on fleet management software. Mine's free. I'll track all the vehicles. So,
So that gas card is nothing additional?
no, you get 5 cents off at Exxon Mobil, but that's just arbitrary, that's just go wherever is closest, is what we recommend. Don't seek out a Thrifty or a Casey's, you know, that's where you get your discount, just go where it's close and get back to your job.
So council, we, as you know, ordered our squad in January of this year, and we have yet to take delivery of it. Wong has stated that he can intercept that delivery, and if the council agrees to go with the plan and implement it, is that not correct?
That is correct.
So, something to think about, there's
How many vehicles did you say we could lease a year versus when we buy? One?
Yeah, you can work with one year. We
I
have
mean,
two that
what
will-
was the, how many, you know, our average, what was it?
1.5.
1.5.
Some usually buy 2, some usually buy 1.
some years we buy none.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Right. Could we lease 5, I mean, what is, our budget says we can buy one for, I don't remember what it was. How many did you figure you could lease out of that? You said that in the beginning.
Sure.
This pickup was 27,000 something, or 20.
Yeah, it was $27,000, payment was $368 a month. If I take $368 times 12, that's an annual cost of $4,400, which you budgeted 27 grand for it, so 4416. You have $22,584 left before you bought one vehicle for other payments.
So, yeah, so basically you're saying you could lease 5 instead of buying one.
Correct. Here's the thing that you'll find though,
But that payment stays with you.
for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's every
Yeah.
year you're paying that. You know,
Otherwise, you're trying to budget $27,000 to $47,000 for a
Yeah.
vehicle, 27 for a pickup, 47 for a squad.
Right.
And you're trying, so you're not buying them for 5, 10 years because you're trying to budget for it. If you're leasing it, you're gonna lease 5.
Well, 10 years is pretty, realistic when you're, you know, 4,000 miles a year, that's still no miles on them, you know.
It absolutely is super low miles, which, like
Yeah.
I said, it sounds so counterintuitive to how we
Well,
buy our own vehicles, you know?
It just ends up so much, what it costs you a year, you know, if you got rid of it, you'd be lucky if you set up a deal, $3,000 or $4,000 to trade something in every year, which the deal can be made. But with 3,000 miles, it still costs you $1 a mile to have it, you know, looking at it that way. When you don't put any miles on them, is what I'm saying.
Did the council get this sheet on my presentation at all, in the packet?
I don't think so.
Didn't we?
It's
Is
inside
that
the
the one you
government
sent
buy-in,
later?
it says.
Is that the one you sent later?
No, it was, and I think it was supposed to be in the packet, it was the PowerPoint.
Well, yeah,
Oh.
some of them won't open.
Okay.
Oh.
So like on mine,
I
it did
did,
open.
yeah, I did try to save it into Dropbox.
Oh, is it
Yeah.
under presentation there?
Yeah.
Mine wouldn't
Yep.
open in there.
I can make,
Yeah.
Some won't,
I
some
can
will.
make
That's-
copies of the page if you want me to.
I think it's important,
Okay.
because it's gonna show you your government buying power.
Is it the one with the Super Duty
Yeah.
Yeah.
truck?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you can find this page at all.
If you don't look on your Dropbox and you look under your email, does it open in your email?
Yes.
You were emailed it too.
Yes,
Okay,
it opens in the email.
okay.
I'll walk you through it if you can't see it, so you know, but I'll flash it. This is a 2018 Super Duty XL, right, pickup truck. The MSRP on it is around $46,000, that's the sticker price, no one pays sticker price. What you will pay though is about, average retail person will pay around $375,000 for it. So you're getting about a $8,000 discount, I guess, from the dealership with all the major incentives going on, right? So you get about an $8,000 deal, which sounds pretty good off a sticker price. The state bid on that truck is $28,769.
You did get it on there?
Yeah, on email.
Oh, okay.
So that's about $8,000 behind the factory cost, okay? Thank you. So I'll recap. MSRP, which I don't have listed down there, is around $46,000 for this pickup truck if you're gonna go buy it. It's an extended cab 4x4 XL. The average price that a retail buyer like you and me walking into a dealership is gonna pay is around $37,375. The state bid contract is $28,769. Okay? If you kept this vehicle for 10 years, you drive low miles, it's only got 98,000 miles on it, right? Now, you even drive lower than that. But it's worth $4,000.
Yeah.
So go down to 10 years. So you cash outlay, what you spent was $24,769, almost 25 grand. What if we did it on the 5-year term? If you looked at the 5-year term, the same truck is worth $19,200. So your cash outlay was $9,500. Double it. Let's round it up to 10. Double it. So it cost you 20 grand that you spent for 2 brand new trucks versus hanging on to one for 10 years. Okay? This doesn't include maintenance or fuel savings. Let's say you don't believe that, but it does. It will save you almost $4,700 just recycling at the right time. Now, if you kept it 2 years to break even about, welcome to Enterprise. What do we do with our rental cars? We get rid of it after 1 to 2 years. Why? Because it doesn't cost us anything. That's why we do it. We're a $23 billion company that makes a ton of money. We do it and cycle it after 2 years because it doesn't cost us anything. The buy is too good. And a lot of cities and counties, believe it or not, go buy our rental cars because they think they're saving money. We're making money when you buy our rental cars. So if you kept it after 1 year, you actually made money. Now, the manufacturers have a rule against that if you didn't know. But if you bought a fleet of them and parked them out here, you could sell them all and make thousands of dollars per vehicle. You can't because you're not a dealership, you're not licensed to do that, and they don't want you to do that. That's not why they give you the discount. Okay? This is hard to understand because you're thinking of the county's fleet as you as your personal vehicle. You don't get the same buy. If you did, you might trade it in more often. This is something that you could have done for the last 50 years. But if you don't track resale, if you don't track maintenance, if you don't track fuel, if you don't track everything down to a penny, you don't do this because it's not the culture of government. This is all we do, is track vehicles down to the penny so we know what every single vehicle costs are. We're giving you the same advice that we do ourselves. The only reason why I don't tell you to flip it after 2 years is public persona. It's hard for taxpayers to realize, let's cycle everything after 2 years. It's too hard. I'm not trying to be in the newspaper under a bad headline.
Well, it isn't too hard to swallow $2 grand a year either, I don't know. That's
But-
5 years, right?
Yeah, but for 5 years, the public gets it. They're like, yeah, we care about safety for our community. We care about safety, what the officers are driving. We want it to look sharp on the city streets. We get it. They better not be in lariats with leather and moonroofs, right? We're talking about XL basic, what do you need to operate vehicles?
So question for you, so to that point, you track these vehicles on an annual basis or daily, whatever you do. If there's a point where you say, hey, you have this vehicle in your fleet, and the resale on those vehicles, for some reason, is going through the roof right now because there's a demand somewhere else, you could make 6 grand equity if you rolled it now after 2 or 3 or 4 years versus waiting 5. We can do that anytime. We're not stuck with the 60.
Correct.
That's just, for example.
Exactly.
So if there's I get it, if it's hard to understand, but it's not hard to understand if you can make 6 grand on something and get a lower payment going forward and take advantage of an opportunity. I'm willing to take that chance.
Most of my sheriff's office and PD, their cycle is 3 to 4 years. 3 to 4 years is the average.
So there's value in our fleet, especially the city stuff, that we don't put a lot of miles on it. 'Cause our
Correct.
equity should be
Huge.
maintained there
Yep.
versus a fleet that puts a lot of miles on.
You're in equity day one. That's how good you buy it. Now, that's not true for retail. You go buy a truck, you drive it off the lot, you just lost $5,000.
Yeah. Not when you
Yeah, but
buy
the same
one.
thing though too, is when the city has sold vehicles, people are thinking they're gonna get a cheap vehicle if it goes out for bid or whatever, because they know that people, I mean, majority of people know that they get that state contract price. So a lot of times people aren't willing to pay that
Yeah.
equity that you're selling us here, you know, so it's not necessarily always blue sky when you go to resell
Well,
it.
that's the beauty. We hand
So-
sell your fleet for you. We don't take it to government auctions.
No, I'm not saying that, we've had just our own
Internal,
personal,
yes, absolutely.
you know,
That's
cold steel bids on stuff, you know, so.
I gotta say, the last years, the stuff that is sold on auction has been more than you'd wanna pay for it, from what I've seen.
On
I've
regular
watched, you know,
auction.
But you handle
all kinds
this.
of stuff.
Yes.
In this part of the, you take vehicles and sell them where you sell them in the market, they don't know it's coming from the city.
Correct.
Where
They know
come.
it's an enterprise vehicle, that's it.
Yeah.
That's, you know, we work with undercover task force, a lot of drug task force, Rochester's Violent Crimes Unit, Anoka County Sheriff's Undercover Unit, Hennepin County Undercover Unit. So we work with a lot of drug task force already, and they're an enterprise. Nobody knows, nobody's the wiser.
What kind of mileage do you put on your regular squads a year, do you kinda know?
Well, that one has what, 124,000, it's a 2015,
Yeah.
2013?
Average for sheriff's
So
office.
2013 is 120.
Yeah, and the reason is we have so few cars that they're used for multiple shifts, so they get a lot of miles on them. When you separate them out, and if 4 people get to drive what am I trying to say here? If you had more cars and they weren't drove 24/7, the mileage would be way lower than they are currently.
The
But now
average-
we have few that are operating that
And they're gonna
they get
take,
more mileage.
they're gonna take the newer one with, because it's gonna be more efficient, more
So you get-
reliable.
Yeah.
Yeah, the average PD and sheriff in Minnesota drives an average of 15 to 40,000 miles a year, so averages around 25,000
Yeah.
is about the average for law enforcement. That's why they're on a 3-year to 4-year cycle instead of a 5-year cycle. Not too many that I know of that are on a 5-year.
So there are opportunities also where, I mean, Charlie will be able to answer this better, you know, do we need all full-size 3/4 ton pickups, or whatever it might, you know, do we go through, if we decide to do this, here's what we have now, here's what we actually need. So as we do roll through this, and then if something changes where, hey, we need an extra truck that's bigger or smaller, or whatever it is, because that would obviously be a cost savings as well.
Absolutely.
If we're getting the right size vehicles for the actual jobs.
The right size, the right type.
And if it changes in 1 year, or 5 years, or 3 years, we can change the type of vehicle to match that
Correct.
for budgeting purposes rather than city pro vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make
Half
sense?
of ours are probably half tons.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I've seen a lot more of those cities.
Both of these are.
Colorados.
Yeah, the half ton.
Have, well, the road side, not half ton. next
The
to-
small one.
Hold it down, okay.
Yeah, these are the ones that you ordered are regular cab, 4x4s with pretty much nothing on them. Now, there's a balance, to be honest with you though, looking at resale and cost. I probably would add the power package on this one for locks and windows. That's one probably thing I would advise, to spend a little bit extra,
Resale,
yeah,
yep.
cause of the resale.
Well, yeah, you don't wanna have it stripped down to where nobody wants to buy it.
Right.
It's gonna be pretty specialized.
Well, you have a stripped down one.
that's what it is.
Which is good, you know, I looked at it and said, holy cow.
Saving money,
You got power windows though, didn't you?
No,
Oh, you did?
$1,000-some for the.
it's not even a spray and bed liner, it's a plastic drop-in.
Yeah, you couldn't get just power windows, you had to get a CD player and everything else.
Yeah.
Package.
So, up front, yeah, you did the right thing, based on what you currently do today, which is run them forever, so it doesn't matter, right? Our program, we wanna balance a little bit out, you know?
Yeah.
and, I would've recommended that, but you still make the final decision, I mean, it's your truck, but for resale, I probably would've added the power package,
With the cruise and everything.
yeah, but that's, neither here nor there, it's not gonna kill you,
People have learned that everyone has power windows, 'cause everyone walks up to your passenger window now.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it,
Reach over. Any other questions for Lon? I guess I'll just throw it out there. I'm the one who we heard about this at the Council of Governments meeting when we were meeting with the county and school district and city of Manorville, and that's how we kinda get introduced to it, and just said, let's kick the tires, because we're looking at possibly wanting to budget a squad car for 19. And we have a couple trucks that are waiting to be delivered, and just looking at the cash outlay and wanted to see the numbers. Personally, I think it's budget friendly, and I like that you can, and I guess maintenance wise would be up to our department to decide if they want that or not, if it saves us money. If it saves us some man hours that you can use somewhere else, great. But I like how we can gradually work into it, and we can stop anytime we want. I've looked at the numbers all weekend, and I do believe that it would save us money over the long haul, and right away also, and be more budget friendly to where we're not having to budget for whole trucks or whole squads or 2 or 3 in a particular year for the capital budget. So that's just my opinion. I think it would be worthwhile to try, and it looks like we're gonna save some money. And I guess we've tried some crazier things to save some money. And the nice thing is we can reevaluate it anytime we want, and if we don't like it, the vehicles are ours. I guess the key difference for me was when I first heard about leasing, I was really skeptical, because I think what you were saying, when you turn the lease vehicle in, well, there's a little scratch on the bumper, that's $3,000, and you went 2 miles over your limit, so there's another $1,000, and it's basically not a lease. It's basically a financing program, to where then we're reselling the vehicles on our own, or we could say, hey, after 60 months, Charlie says, the seat fits me now, and I'm gonna drive this until it's gone, and, we're not gonna trade that vehicle in for some reason, we can
Right.
keep it, so.
Yeah, like the sheriff's office, there's some, pickup trucks that they use seasonally only to tow the boat in and out of the water, and they literally put like 1,000 miles a year on it. Keep it for 15 years, I don't care.
Because like you said, though, at the end of the 5 years, or whatever the time it is, if we decide not to turn that over, that's our vehicle, that payment goes away.
You have a year left about.
1 year, yeah, so whatever the 72
Yeah,
months, yeah.
yeah.
So it's not like it's there for the 10, 20 years. If you decide to keep that one particular vehicle, or you say, hey, this vehicle's only getting 1,200 miles a year, and it's all we're gonna use it for is to pull the pump or whatever you're gonna do, beat the heck out of it and keep it for as long as we're running.
Yeah, and 15 years, replace it with me?
So it's not an all or nothing
No.
plan.
Be nice
Personally,
if
I
it
like
was.
it.
I gotta say, it's a lot different than I expected it to be getting into it here.
It was, when I first heard about it, I said, there's no way we're gonna do a lease, like you
It's not
said,
a
the
common
$3.99 a
lease.
month and all this, and you
Right.
get 24
Yeah.
months turn in, you get nicked on everything and, or put the wrong fuel in it, and,
Well, how many times have you heard someone getting a lease vehicle? The first lease is great, because they took all the equity out of your first vehicle, and took it off your payment.
Yeah.
It's the residual.
And the next time they go,
Right.
full price,
Right.
so I guess personally, I like it.
I was, when I was reading through it, I was getting the same, you could get 5 for the price of 1,
Yep.
dating, and what I read was just like you said tonight, it's ours. To me, it's a no-brainer, it's saving money, it's money all around.
Go ahead.
My concerns was having that, the lease. If this is as good as it says, I guess I'm willing to try it for a couple of them.
Okay. Lon?
I'm good.
Doug?
Yeah, I think this sounds.
Different thing you thought, just
Yeah.
worth giving a try, and,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, we've got the monies set aside for these vehicles anyway.
Right.
We already
You know,
got the 1 squad and the 2 other trucks, that's
gonna
3
put
vehicles
money
in the
right back.
budget. We can lease all 11 and still have
You
money
know,
left over.
we've got that money laying there already set aside, so.
Right.
Would you go a few more vehicles this year or not? I don't.
You could do all 11 and still have money.
I guess I guess
Well, I
going
mean,
to that.
squads is the one thing I'm kinda thinking of, you're in bad shape on them, so you've got the money set aside for it. You know, how long does it take you to order another one? That's kinda what but.
It would be greatly appreciated.
That's
Huge, you don't know how.
Dollars and cents are telling me that's what to look at here, you know.
Yeah, but also, what you gotta keep in mind though, that the money that's budgeted for is cut the check for them, and they're sitting here and they're owned and done. You just remember that once that money runs out, if you also spend it on 11 of vehicles, now you got a budget payment for all 11 vehicles.
For 5 years, yeah.
You got
So
budget
just remember
$50,000
that
a year.
it's not, I mean, just 'cause there's 3 vehicles sitting there with money there, doesn't mean they're paid for now for the next 5 years.
But the money.
The only thing I'm getting at is next year,
See what goes.
he's gonna be, you're gonna be asking for another one. I realize that. 'cause
You've already got it.
He says they're in bad shape. That's why I'm just saying that.
And if you look at the miles on our squads, I mean, for our personal vehicles, 118,000 is nothing.
Yeah.
I have 120,000 on my personal vehicle, and I plan on driving another 8 years if I can. The problem is, that squad is done. 90,000 miles, our squads are bad. They're just
Why?
worn, and they don't get that replacement
High
in the
speed.
suspension and things
In
like that.
Casson?
They're more than in Casson, they're down on the highway.
I think what Casson's what kills them.
Yeah.
Being
in
in
and out
town
of it.
all the time. and-
And to be clear, patrol cars are not on fixed maintenance.
Of course not.
We don't have enough data. It will come out in about 2 years once we have the data. Enterprise, everything is about data. And, we don't have enough data with the patrol vehicles yet. We just know everybody has told us, and we've looked at the numbers, they're exorbitantly high. And we've gotta be in a position where we don't lose, but we don't win. You know what I mean? So we just need more time to collect data.
As far as numbers to start with and all that type of thing, I mean, we've already got some money we allocated to these 2 trucks that we have waiting to be delivered.
And the ones-
I don't have it off the top of my head.
Well, I think it was,
42 for the squad.
42 for the squad, and
Yeah.
then.
but that
two vehicles.
included equipment though.
Right.
4 plus what, tax and license, I think.
2 pickups,
So
so.
the pickups were at least 20.
So I would like if we're in agreement, you know, as far as how many cars we start with and what we're gonna do, we need to make sure Nancy's in the loop here. I mean, yeah, we have this money we set aside for the trucks right now to make sure that this budget year, that money works for this budget year, you know, and not extend ourselves too much. But that's to work with
Yeah.
police chief and Charlie to say, here's the vehicles and most easier to get the value, and come back with a recommendation so that Nancy can make sure that stays within our budget.
Mhm.
So we don't end up breaking the bank and saying, hey, we've got this extra money, let's just go lease a whole bunch, and then we still have to maintain that. So
Yeah,
I mean-
and that's why I did that 5-year projection for you, so you know. I'm always gonna be under the 128 that you spend today.
Right. So I think we get
You know what I
Nancy
mean?
and.
I'm always under your budget from what you've done, buying 1.5 vehicles. But if you wanna be more conservative, you don't have to start with 11, right? You look at that list that I did and really pick and choose which ones you want, and we can start with those. Here's my only concern that I will tell the board as well. The reason why the more you get, the more you save. Sounds kinda crazy, but these 11 are costing you an average of $300 to $350 a month maintaining it currently right now, the way it is.
And that's
According
what
to
your
the-
lease payment is per vehicle.
Right, so the less you do, the savings that I'm showing you are not accurate. You know what I mean? You'll save less, because you're still gonna be running those vehicles longer. And if a transmission should go, then it'll really blow the bank. If the vehicles get into an accident, they'll be worth nothing, because they're not worth a ton now, because they're very old, right? $5,000-6,000, you get in an accident, it's worth $1,000. So those are the worries from not doing as many as possible, but still staying under budget. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and when I look at this, that example you gave us, our police payments the first 12 months will be $55,000
For 11 vehicles.
for 11 vehicles.
Correct.
Right now, we have 40,000 budgeted for the squad, and there's 2 pickups that gotta be
27 each.
27,000 apiece.
Mhm.
So there's 40 or 50. So we're talking 90,000 that we've already got budgeted that we were going to spend. In this scenario, if we replace that with 11, we'd be spending 55.
And mine includes maintenance.
Right, if we
If you-
decide to have that or not have that, it'll come off that if we don't decide
Correct,
to have the
because
maintenance.
if you add your maintenance expense, I use 300, by the way, for the analysis. I lowball you, just to be conservative. I'd rather under-promise and over-deliver. So a year from now, I'll say, look, it's even more. But just so you know, I lowballed it as an average, because you're averaging actually higher than that. But I used the 300, and I printed it on there in the bottom left quadrant, what I used to be conservative. So what you're spending actually, you know what I mean, includes maintenance. So I'm very conservative in the numbers I'm giving you, and the numbers I'm also giving you for resale are auction resale numbers, that they're really beat up shape as well. I think I'm gonna get a lot more for them. To give an example, the one vehicle you traded in for you got $6,500 for it. Our remarketer thinks $8,000 was the right bid. So we hand sell them, so we get more than taking to a government auction than a trade-in. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So if I would've intercepted this earlier, I can't now, cause they're at the dealership and and you sign the paperwork, right? All I'm doing is paying the dealership the same number, so I can't play around with the trades or anything. But future-wise, you know, I would sell the vehicles and I would get you more than what a dealership trade-in as well. So there's even more stuff that I'm not sharing everything to be conservative right now. Like I said, we rather under-promise and over-deliver, because a year from now, everyone's gonna pull up this sheet and say, how are we doing? And the only thing I can say is if you start with 5, the savings are not the same, so I don't wanna be like, well, he said we'd save a ton more, right? You didn't get rid of all your old vehicles. You're still hanging on to 5 or whatever it is. So really look at those 11, and we definitely get with Nancy to make sure it fits the budget, but I'm giving you the budget
Right.
on our
Okay.
end.
All right.
Okay?
So are we in consensus that we can make a motion in a second, but
Put the 3 on, put the 2 pickup trucks and the police vehicle on the program?
okay, first, let me finish
Okay.
here first, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
So first, everybody's in consensus that we'll give this a try, and we'll go forward.
Yes.
And okay, so that's the first thing. And then second is, do we wanna intercept these 2 pickups in the squad to put them on the lease right away? And that was basically the reason for the meeting tonight, because we've got a deadline from the dealer who doesn't wanna hang on to the trucks anymore. So, if we were gonna go with this, we may as well go with it. I mean, if we weren't, then we just go pick the trucks up and be done. But if we were, then we would have, Enterprise intercept them for us and get it on the program. So that's kind of the second.
Here's another point I wanna throw out is, that 55,000, we just about got double that what we're spending on these this year. So that's almost next year's payment already made,
Right.
just on what we were gonna spend on these vehicles. That's going with the 11, so that's just to keep in everyone's mind, but you go ahead and.
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
saying it.
absolutely, yeah, yep. So those are the 2 things I guess we have to decide. 1, do we wanna go with the lease program? 2, if we do wanna go with the lease program, do we wanna quick add these 3 vehicles that are already ordered, basically, and add those on there? And I guess the third one is the maintenance. Do we need to know the maintenance tonight? Can we give the go-ahead and say, we wanna try the lease program, and we wanna intercept these 3 vehicles, and get them on there? Can we add the maintenance, or take the maintenance off at any time we want?
Before you take delivery.
So those we would need to know if we want maintenance on these 3 before we take delivery.
Which one you won't because of the police.
Right.
The police will not.
The 2, yeah, the
Right.
2 for the,
Right,
so I guess we have consensus on the,
You said 2.
yes.
Just the 2
Just
pickups.
pickups.
Two
We can't do the
pickups,
police.
just the
2
2
pickups,
pickups.
yeah.
Police do not have a maintenance program.
We have the maintenance tracker program, if we're gonna throw it in and then get that.
Yeah.
We'll talk
I
about
mean, it might be worth trying it out, just,
so do you,
Try tracking
what's
it.
your opinion on that? I mean, I get, you're out in the shop all the time, like Doug said, Doug, good point, maybe there's times you have some downtime, you wanna do the maintenance, cause you gotta keep people busy
We're just changing oil and stuff like that, and it works better for us to do it than.
on your own time and.
Deliver them.
Okay.
They're gonna go in after 5 years, and I'm mostly just gonna be changing oil and stuff on them, so.
Yeah, Jeff gets started
Well,
real quickly, so.
Pretty much everybody services their own truck when they have time, so.
Okay, so we could probably do without the maintenance, you think? And we could try that on these first 11 and don't do the maintenance, and
Right.
on the next ones, you can always add it if you want to.
Yep.
Okay.
The only thing is, that maybe we'd like to switch around some of the first the 11 he had or something.
Well, yeah,
So
that's-
that'll be.
Another
Discussion.
discussion, right,
That's
right.
another discussion, I think,
Right.
right now, we just wanna say, we wanna go with the program, we wanna add the 3 vehicles to it, and we don't wanna do the maintenance to start on those 3 for sure. And then as far as what vehicles and when, we have your recommendations, which, thank you very much for, you obviously put those together because of age, resale value, the equity, that type of thing. And then we can, I guess, you two get together with,
I did, Charlie, now, you had a few new pickups around there, some of these older ones you wouldn't hardly have to use at all, would you, if you had better ones to use?
Most of them are used most of the time.
Yeah.
Probably the least is like the street.
That old
guys
Ford?
Have 2 trucks with 2 guys, and half time they're in sweepers or something.
as far as putting a snow plow, you have plows in a couple of them, right? Again, that's just modifying it, and then that's just our resale value. Take-
It's your plow.
Yeah.
Take it off when you're done, and we'll put it on the new one.
Okay.
Alright.
Plows, you get 10 years out of them, so, 2 trucks.
Yeah, just replace that one that's going 03 or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I
I
figured.
think that's what I said, I'm not sure, but.
Every other time on, you know, on your plow ones, you get 10 years out of them.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve going with the enterprise lease program.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Passed unanimously, Linda. And I'll also entertain a motion to add the 3 vehicles as soon as possible before we take delivery of them to the program.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion carries unanimously. And we don't need to do anything about the maintenance.
Kim, do you feel like you need to chime in, or can we just try the fuel program on these 2 and see how that goes as well?
There's no cost to the fuel program?
Right.
I say we do it.
How do you do it now?
I would do it on the whole fleet if
Yeah,
you're gonna
that's
do
not-
it.
Well, we're gonna, oh, you mean switch all our vehicles to it, so you
Oh,
can
the whole-
see
yeah.
what's going on with the
No.
vehicles we have.
Quick Trip, they have a charge card there, and we have a.
You'll get a new
number
charge
we
card.
punch into the.
So everybody would just get a new charge card and a new PIN.
And each.
Everyone's got their
vehicle
own
will get
PIN,
one.
yep.
Okay, then we'll really know what's happening with the
Yeah.
whole fleet.
Well, then we'll get
That is
better data next year when we go to reevaluate
Right.
and give you your report card. We'll be able to
Okay, excellent, thanks for
have
that
more data to
point.
do that.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
We can use your data
And then,
to
Yeah.
evaluate you.
Our,
Yeah.
another question, Chris, are we gonna look to do 11 right away? Is that, I mean, we did the 3 tonight, but are we gonna?
Like the 3, and then I think what we'll do is, we need to get Nancy involved here.
Mhm.
I think part of my question was answered on our outlay, with the 11 laid out there, the lease payment approximately, depending on what actual vehicle comes
Yeah.
in, is gonna be around 55,000. We've already got budgeted close to 90,000 with the 3 we were gonna replace
Mhm.
anyway, so it's not a negative effect on our 2019 budget. That was the thing they wanted to make sure that,
Yes.
and then
Right,
going forward.
then we can move forward.
Does that mean we need to do 16, 18, 20? Probably not, but if we just did the 11, I think you put this together and the steps you did for a reason.
Mhm.
Like you said, these 11 present the best equity possibility plus the most savings for maintenance and everything else.
In theory, but you're gonna know your trucks better. I rely more on the internal for those 11.
You just did this off of, here's how old it is and the mileage on it, and here's what I could do. Now Charlie, you can get together with Charlie and say, okay,
Yep.
tell me all your vehicles and what,
And
you might
Ken,
have one that's.
Cause they might,
Mhm.
you might be able to replace a couple of the
12
police
or
departments now instead of down the road.
Right.
And we should have 30 to 35,000 residual to go towards next year payment already.
Correct.
Mhm.
Correct.
That let Nancy set that aside.
Yep, the main thing is,
Okay.
if you have a cards, we can get together, build the vehicles, so we know the exact equipment you want on them, you know, together.
Mhm.
Like, majority of my public works division, they're going with extended cabs now. Totally up to you, with the power package, but it's an XL stripped model. That's been the baseline. I don't care.
Well, we don't want, I mean, sorry, Charlie, but, I mean, we don't, I mean, we gotta have some sort of base model in our goal, if we just don't want to. But we just said we're gonna have to go with a standard cab, if we need an extended cab reporter, obviously speak up. If we don't need an extended cab, there's no sense buying one if we can buy the Colorado versus a 1-ton dually four-door. That's
Correct.
something I think the council needs to set forth and say, here's kind of our standard pickup that works for Charlie and works for police, and anything above and beyond that.
Well,
Well, we're
Not to
also
interrupt, but
looking
we
at the
also-
resale.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you gotta have the resale, cause
And then
if
look
a
at
Colorado, if you pay X amount, doesn't resell versus an extended cab or a regular cab, you gotta look at.
Off the state
every-
bid, the F-150 is cheaper than the Colorado.
Right.
That's the crazy part. Full-size pickup is cheaper than the Colorado.
And it's gonna resell.
Yeah, they give you that other $9,000 off, I mean, it's.
You know what I mean? So everything is data-driven through enterprise. Anything I'm gonna recommend to you, I'll show you the numbers, you pick the vehicle, right? Cause a lot of people, I'll tell them, the Ram SSV is one of the best police vehicles right now. It's a pickup truck. It's one of the lowest total cost of ownership, cause it's a pickup truck. But some of my sheriffs said, I'm not stepping into a Ram. So, it's up to you.
So is that comparable with gas mileage then though, with the cars that you could be running?
Jeez.
Sorry. That pickup that you're talking about,
Oh, yeah.
really?
It's fantastic.
Oh.
Right now, they're doing $13,000 behind factory cost on the crew cab, Ram pickup trucks in the old body style. They're just crazy good. It's cheaper than the Interceptor, utility Interceptor, right
What,
now.
what about some of the
That don't
trucks
work.
that have utility boxes? You'd be better off trade them with the utility box, or?
Most of my public works like to leave them for 2 to 3 life cycles unless it really fits the new body style. That's the only danger there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'll transfer the body over to the new
the
truck.
next truck.
Sheriff has many equipment that will transfer well, things that don't, they gotta buy new. You gotta buy new anyway, 'cause the 2020 is changing body styles, for the most part. Not, not everything, but a lot of stuff is changing. That's causing havoc across the country. But for the pickup trucks, to answer your question, yeah, I mean, that's, you can sell it with it or without it, it's up to you,
So how about you guys get together, stay within this
Yeah.
$55,000 a year
Yeah.
lease payment? Whatever vehicles we can get done for that, you guys can arm wrestle over the trucks and squads and talk about what kind of extended cab, non-extended cab, whatever it is that fits your needs. And then bring that back, and then we'll have to approve everything that happens anyway, so.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
budget is always the.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Oh,
yeah.
Let Charlie and Chief kinda.
And they're gonna work with enterprise, they'll know what's
Right.
the best thing.
Okay, any other questions from anybody? Thank you all for coming,
I'm sorry, can I throw one last thing? I apologize.
Sure.
As long as it doesn't cost more.
It does. The maintenance tractor program, we brought it up last time at the first meeting, I didn't tell the board this though, but our maintenance tractor program for your vehicles is $5 per month per vehicle. I'll track all your maintenance on all the vehicles that you currently own. That way next year, I can tell you which vehicles are costing the most. Perfectly. That's our tractor program. We track it, you still pay whatever the charge is,
Right.
right? But everything is paid through enterprise on a monthly basis. We pay all the shops, collect all the invoices, then feed it through the dashboard, so you'll know per vehicle what each vehicle is spending in maintenance
But
costs.
if you're going to, we're doing our own maintenance though,
You
how
have
would
to-
you track that?
I put software in your computer, you do a work order now, like you currently do. I'm sure you do a work order of some kind, so accounting knows.
I just got your answer.
I would appreciate it looking at claims though, if a lot of the parts that come out of there,
Yeah.
if somebody put a vehicle number on them, you never know what
Yeah.
any of them are.
You have to have that ability, I guess, for it to work.
That's
for
where the
me.
maintenance comes
If
in.
my software goes on your computer system, you gotta do a work order when you do an oil change, so then I know you did one.
Right, and then the time, like
The time.
time that was involved with the employee, at what rate, and that kind of
Most
thing.
stuff I can't figure out who signed the bill.
Okay, well, now, you won't have that problem. 'cause it's
Like
all-
Lloyd had that question about how much we spent, and I keep track in, Excel sheet
Okay.
of our repairs for our squad cars. And from October to October, it was in excess of $9,000 for repairs.
Mhm.
And that didn't include oil changes or brakes. Oh, yeah, it included brakes.
That didn't include nothing at the body shop either,
No.
for $9,000.
No.
Well, mine doesn't either, to be honest, it's not body shop, mine's only maintenance. But if the time it takes you to build Excel and do all that, if you did that on the computer and just entered it in, I get that data. If you do go out to any shops, anywhere in the country mine works at, you know, I can track the maintenance expense, and you'll never get jacked at any maintenance shop across the country, though. We audit every single repair. We wanna make sure that you're not being upsold when it's outside of the county, you know, or city limits, you know what I'm saying? So our clients saved around 20% in maintenance costs last year. You'll never feel the $5 a month per vehicle, but next year, when our account team comes back and says, these are exactly the
What it's
9 you
cost.
should get, based on fuel economy and maintenance expense, right? We can be very detailed to tell you exactly what's going on. It is optional,
$75 a month.
it's up to you.
25 vehicles.
It's been a really good savings, and you don't need it on all the new ones. The new ones, you don't need,
Automatically tracks on that.
really, you know what I mean? But it's something to think about, and maybe.
Well, we didn't take the maintenance on them, so then we.
So then we should track it and see if it is.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, the $30 is a leap, and you might not use it because you do it internally, I get that. Majority of all my cities and counties take the maintenance tractors, they wanna know. The board
Mhm.
wants to know, what are we spending? I don't want a guesstimate.
Right.
And I wanna know which vehicles to get rid of, from a data point.
Okay, I can buy that.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I like it.
Motion on that.
You might as well.
Entertain a motion to have the $5 per month.
Per
maintenance
vehicle?
tracker. Yep.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? Thanks, Doug. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Let's save some money.
Okay.
Meeting adjourned.
Thanks for your time.
I'll make
Thank
that
you.
motion.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Second, and Doug was the second.
Doug was the second, I
Well,
thought
Doug,
you made
I'll
it.
get you
Oh,
the-
yeah, it's the second.
I was.
Dan
Oh,
was-
down.
I already got that, you just.
Oh, I gotta
Unless
shut
you're
up.
gonna-
Tell me.
No, did you get a spot? Maybe in the spot. That's fine.
The one time I went in there and answered it, it's like,
Okay, all right.
electric,
That was it.
or hardwired doors, or maybe for tripping.
All right. Okay, all right. That's good to know. It's not urgent. All right. Thanks, Doug.
Why did you call it
Fine.
your hard, where,
This actually
where
was
you going?
really,
I don't
like
know.
I said to Charlie, he